Hello, and thank you for joining Thank a Teacher podcast. Today we have a wonderful guest, Scott Isley. He is our CEO of SAI, but he's also a veteran teacher of English language arts for 20 years in California. Is that correct, Scott?
That's correct.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here with us today. Hi, Tania.
Hi,
Hello, Tania.
doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you.
What's the
How's
weather like in
everything?
California today?
Hot.
Is it
Yep.
is it like 95 hot like it is here in Florida, or
Not quite that hot, but it's heating up a bit.
is it? Well, good. Well, we imagine you have some teachers you'd like to thank since you decided to join us, and let's get right to it. So, Scott, we're going to ask our favorite question, which is who was your favorite teacher or influential teacher, and what subject did they teach?
All right. Well, my answer might be a bit different than some of your usual guests. My favorite teacher, the most influential teacher in my life, happens to be my father. My father taught high school science and math for over 35 years. And just as a side note, my father and I shared the same high school campus, right, for 3.5 years while I was attending high school. However,
Hmm,
I was never placed in his classes, which I think would have been a bit awkward for me.
I
But
bet.
he's he's definitely gonna be at the top of my list as far as teachers who influenced my life.
Awesome. Well, I can't wait to hear all about how he does that and how he did it throughout your life. When you were born, obviously you had your dad, but what were some of the lessons that you learned from your father at a young age?
Yeah, so, of course, I was a wee toddler, right, when I started developing, my first memories of learning, right, with
Hmm.
my dad, and, I I didn't attend public school to get an education per se, right? Because I feel like my dad was the one providing that for me at home on sort of a routine and daily basis, which left me quite an expanse of opportunities to explore socially at school, right? Because I
Sure.
wasn't focused there on my studies. So I would say from a young age, my dad taught me to be inquisitive and inspired in me a curiosity and a love of knowledge. My dad he taught science and math, as I said. So he is very sort of mechanically oriented, very logical, scientific. And, right, I think he instilled in me a love for that same type of knowledge, right? But at the same time, it was a little more difficult for me to develop, I think, some of the what we call this wisdom was a little harder to come by for me
Mm,
than intelligence, right?
okay.
Intelligence being the ability to acquire and understand and analyze and manipulate information. Wisdom being the ability to use that knowledge, intelligence in the service of good judgment, let's say.
Mhm.
And so, for example, I was always able to articulate arguments very well. I could argue, right?
You could argue.
I would argue with my teachers in class quite often, but it took me a long time, right? It was years after, my dad was influential in terms of my education. It was years after that I started to pick up on the lessons of wisdom and started to learn that a highly intelligent person might know how to win an argument, but a wise person is able to discern whether the argument is worth winning,
Yeah,
right?
when to back away and when to not
Yeah,
say
just
anything or
yes, exactly. Just the virtues and values of life. I think if I were to answer your original question of who was your favorite teacher, or who was your most influential teacher, one of the most influential teachers in my life was actually my youth pastor, which I didn't grow up in. My parents didn't take me to church. That wasn't part of my routine growing up. But close to the time I started high school, there was a small church right across the street from the high school, coincidentally. And there was a youth pastor there by the name of Doug Mai. And he was very influential in my life at that particular time when I was apt to rebel a bit, as most
Hmm,
teenagers are in high school. And I was looking or searching for things outside of just intellectual knowledge,
sure. More of
right?
like a social role model.
Well, yeah, just sort of, it sort of filled a spiritual need that
Mhm.
was lacking in my life, I think, and that provided me a certain amount of grounding, or it was a bit of an anchor.
Strength and courage.
And it yeah, and it allowed me a bit of a moral compass, which helped me, arrive at the place where I am today, which
Sure.
is a much, which is a much better, which is a balance between the intellectual and the, you
Mm.
know, and the wise.
Took what you learned from them and kind of implemented it into your own teaching style?
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think one of the things I appreciate about your podcast, and one of the reasons I'm so honored to be here, is I think we're all shaped and influenced by many people in our lives. And
For
teachers are,
sure.
our teachers have some of the, should we say, most direct access
Mm.
to,
It's true.
you know, to us as individuals, right? They get to know us. I mean, teachers actually, a good teacher will tell you that by the end of the year, those students have become like their kids, right?
Family, you sure? Sure.
Exactly. So there's a bond that we form with teachers, at least some of them, right? Not all of them,
That's right.
but
Some don't care about that type of thing, but some
uh,
really do.
as in any profession, you have some that really excel and some that struggle, right? To I don't know, become accomplished or whatnot. But just in general, I think that I could, if we had 2.5 hours, there's a whole litany of people I'd like to thank, and a large majority of people on that list, right?
And
We
what
could,
was Doug's last name? Doug.
yeah, he was the pastor of Chino First Baptist Church way back in the day, and I believe I haven't stayed in direct contact with him, but I believe he's the pastor of Warm Springs Baptist Church in right outside of Las Vegas or somewhere out there in Nevada.
Well, that would be awesome if he could somehow
Yeah,
get a hold of this and
maybe
hear it
maybe he'll come
someday.
across the podcast. Yes.
Sure.
Great,
Always
great.
nice to be
I know
recognized.
he's gonna be honored for sure. Do you have a specific memory or moment that stands out about this teacher or your dad or who
My
else?
dad, yes, both actually, but one of my fondest memories of my father is when we used to spend time after dinner. My dad would usually have a pocket full of change. I don't know if our younger generation is going to understand exactly what that means these days.
Certainly not with pennies.
Yeah, but he would come home jingling his change, and, after dinner, we'd sit down at the coffee table, and, he taught me not just the value of money, but, basic principles of addition and subtraction and how to make change, and I remember always feeling, you know, a sense of accomplishment when I would walk into the local convenience store and pick out a few pieces of gum or candy,
Mm.
and I could pull the change from my own pocket, right? I had a small allowance back then, and I was able to count the exact amount of change it was, that required to pay for, my items. Or
Mm.
if I didn't have the exact amount of change, I knew if I was getting shorted, right? When the
That was
cash
good.
cashier would pretty much
Whenever I would teach elementary change counting, I would always tell the kids, "I'm teaching this to you so you don't get ripped off in the future. You need to know how much money you have."
exactly.
Yeah,
So that was just a special, moment, that reoccurring moment that
that's
my father
nice.
and I shared.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. So let's see. I'm sure we have lots more questions that we can be asking here. And were there any challenges you faced that either your father or Mr. Mize helped you overcome?
So I can share this at point. I think I alluded to this earlier. We go through that stage in life where we're rebellious, and I was struggling a little bit with how I wanted to become a good person, right?
Mm, okay.
And I think my dad was present enough, and Doug as well, that they were a bit of a moral compass for me. And when it came time for me to mature and start taking responsibility for myself, right? I think that enough of those life lessons had, taken root.
Mm, eventually, you gain that wisdom over time.
Right. Exactly.
Mhm,
Wisdom we were And
mm,
I think, part of maturing and becoming a responsible individual is just learning how to sort of gird yourself, right? Or prepare yourself for those situations so that even in the times of peace, or
mhm.
in the times when we're feeling like we have everything together, right? You know that those times are coming,
You're
right?
trying to prevent something bad from happening.
When I encounter hardships now, I'm much more sort of prepared or secured to take responsibility
Mm,
for what's happening in my life. rather than just blaming others or looking
Mhm.
for excuses.
Sweep it under the carpet and
Exactly,
avoid it. Mhm.
ways to avoid it. It's better just to face those things head on and take
Mhm.
care of business, and I think that,
That's awesome. Did that influence you as a
Mhm.
teacher in any way?
definitely.
Awesome. Maybe you could share a little bit about how that
Sure, excuse me, I just
changed you.
wet my whistle a little bit. So yes, I am conscious most hours of the day when I'm in the classroom teaching, that my role is not merely to model for the students how to engage with the material, right? Because I think that's really what teachers do, right? Are, if you were to give a definition of a teacher, it's somebody who models how to engage with the material or the information. Like, how do we make use of this information, right? That's sort of the
Mhm.
intelligence aspect that I
And
that
apply the knowledge.
But I think that teaching is so much more than just the dissemination of information, right? It's also the dissemination or the transfer of morality and
Mhm.
and norms and such. So that what I at the end of the day, if I had a choice, right, as a teacher, if I had a choice at the end of the year, I had 100 students, and I had a choice to between 100 of those students turning out to be great students, scholars, academics, or going to college, they're going to go on and have great careers, right? That's choice A. And choice B being these 100 students are going to turn out to be decent, good, caring individuals, human beings
Mhm.
that who find success in life through making the world a better place, even if it's just within their own
Mhm.
niche, their own family, their own community. I would pick the latter, right? Every day
Mhm.
of the week and twice on Sundays, because I think if we can teach our students to be good people, right? Which again was why I brought up, Doug as being so influential in my life. If we can teach students to be good people, then we've really accomplished something, because that's about the best anybody can hope to be in this world, I think, is just a good person.
Yeah, absolutely. You're taking it kind of full circle, like they've inspired you and led you down a path where you're like, okay, now I know what they were trying to do and why they were trying to tell me that, I need to learn from some of my mistakes and not act the same way, or else I'm going to end up in even deeper trouble, right? Because that's
Right.
sometimes what we do. We don't want to listen to the adults in our lives sometimes. And I think that we want to try it our way and prove to them that we got this, but then sometimes we have to look back and go, "Oh, yeah, I should have listened to what they said," or,
Yep.
you
I
know.
think it was Mark Twain who said, when I was 17, my dad knew absolutely nothing. But by the time I was 24 or 25, or maybe it was 30, I was absolutely amazed at how much he learned. That's not an exact quote, but by the way, if my students turned out to be good people and read Samuel Clemens,
That would be amazing.
exactly. That's the icing on the cake, right?
Yes, absolutely. Can't change
I
them
can
all, though.
totally that point of kind of being hard headed at first and having to figure it out your own. Because I feel like I was somewhat like that. I was always a good kid in school, but you always heard, okay, well, I'm gonna let you bump your head a little bit since you want to be hard headed. And I'll be like, oh, okay, whatever. And then I end up bumping my head. And I'm like, now I know how to go. And now, to teach my son and, to teach other people as well. Like, okay, you do the right things and you do have mistakes, but as long as you're growing as a person and trying to make yourself a better person, that's all that matters. So that's a very good thing to keep in mind and continue to have as you're getting older.
Right. That's awesome. And I like that, Tania. I think I might just piggyback or add to that and suggest that you don't ever compare yourself to anyone else, but always compare yourself to yourself yesterday,
The day before, you got it.
day before, exactly, right?
Mhm.
Because that's the sign of growth, right? No matter how much you can carry today, if you can only carry a certain amount of weight, you're still doing something useful. But if tomorrow you can carry just a little more weight, you know you're making progress towards something, right? I mean, at
Yeah.
least moving in the right direction.
You got it. And Cindy and
But
I talk about that too because we have been, growing and just learning how to do a podcast. This is all new to us too. So she's kind of keeping me in check. She's like, don't expect perfection overnight. We're learning. This is growth for us. So
Good
as
to
much
go.
as I am her was her teacher, not anymore. No,
I still kinda keep the same respect for her though,
she
I'm
does, but she's
getting better off
teaching me
schedule.
too.
We're both teaching each other,
I
and I
love
just love that it's a teacher kind of relationship between us to still, "Okay, Tina, I know you need to get better at this and this and that." So I love that I still have someone in my life like that. And I know there's probably students out there hopefully watching this that'll be like, "He helped me out and he helped me change to who I am." That's the whole of us doing this to
Mm,
show appreciation to you to get out there your story and to maybe one day bring one of your students on here to appreciate you.
that's right.
Well, there are plenty of them, believe me. I've been blessed. Many of my former students are still in my life. My wife and I get invited to several quinceañeras.
Oh, that's awesome.
We teach in East LA, so it's primarily Hispanic community, but and we live in Pico Rivera. My wife grew up in Pico Rivera, so
My
we're
brother
very
lives in near Anaheim, and my sister-in-law and niece work at Disneyland.
nice. My wife is well, I am too by virtue of my association with my wife, but we're both pass holders, key holders.
Oh,
But
awesome.
but we're very connected to not just our immediate family. Like I said, my wife's family is all from Pico Rivera, but to our extended family in the community, right, with our students and such.
Mhm.
That's been a real blessing. So
Because I think when you're a teacher, you naturally get involved with the community because you're educating their children. And when you have closer parent connections, I do feel like they trust you more, knowing that my kid's spending more time with that person all day than I am actually in the evening. So,
well, the parents around Pico Rivera see us at the parks and recreation, facilities. We go to the kids, baseball games, soccer games. They see us at church on Sunday. They see us at the market when we're shopping, right?
aw, so
So
cool.
yeah, so we're
Cool.
we're like I said, you know we're we're very sort of accessible and we're always around.
Now, was your wife a teach? Is your wife a teacher also?
Yes, if you ever need a guest to join your podcast, my wife's the band director,
We
music
haven't
teacher.
had a music teacher on. We'll have to have a music teacher on. Yeah.
You might even see if you can coerce her into playing her flute. She's conducted at Carnegie Hall, and
What's her
she's
name, Scott?
Karen Paganiban.
All right.
I
Thank you.
I
We
love.
got to give her a shout out,
Gotta
Karen.
give her a shout out to wifey.
And by the way, she's taught me as much as anybody else in life about grace and
Yes.
humility and such. So
It's
I
amazing how many teachers we really have. They don't necessarily have to be our actual education teacher. They could be that's why I mentioned, thank an educator because there's so many people, coaches and tutors and paraprofessionals, even somebody being affected by the kindness of a social worker, assistant principals, school counselors, and band directors, people who really just are positive and shine, their light on others and help them be able to find their own strengths. And I think that's what truly makes good teachers is those who share their knowledge to help others, learn who they are. And it sounds like you've had some,
Amazing.
teachers be able to do that for you.
I've been fortunate. I'm very grateful.
Awesome.
Being married to someone who's also a teacher, is that cool to, have
Well,
kind of
I,
your
I'll say right. I'll say this. Not only am I married to a teacher, but we work at on the same campus. So as I said, we live in Pico Rivera. We work in Pico Rivera. We generally
Shop, eat.
yeah, eat, sleep. I mean, there are very few moments in life when I'm not with my wife, and that doesn't work for everybody, right? I've
Sure.
had these conversations, but it works for us, and she's my best friend, and I love to be there for her, as much as possible.
That's awesome.
I will say that I have to every now and then. It's a wise decision, right? I need to step back and temper my desire to protect her, right?
Mm.
When we're at work, because
Hmm.
she has her space and she needs to be able to sort of navigate within it and take care of business herself.
Mm,
And
yeah.
that gets difficult. Sometimes, those just maternal, not those paternal instincts,
Sure.
right, kick in. I just feel like, it's my job to protect her. And so that can be a struggle at times, but other than that, it works well for us.
Well, that's
Okay.
awesome. My parents were both teachers in the same district, but not the same school.
That's similar to my situation. My dad was a teacher at the high school, and my mom was the head of payroll. And
Hmm.
back then, you actually had to go to the payroll office to get your check
Oh,
signed.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
My mom would actually sign my dad's checks,
That's
right? So no hiding any money in our household. Anyway,
too funny. Yeah, for sure. She knows how much he took home.
exactly.
Well, we know you're doing awesome things in the classroom, but it sounds like you've got some other things going on that you might want to talk about. A great business that will help English teachers save some time. Am I right?
Yeah. So for the
Want to talk
last
about that for a little bit?
briefly, I have a AI powered essay grading. What would you call it?
The
Uh,
program?
program. Yeah, we'll just call it a program. It's
Mhm.
it's a Chrome extension. It's also an application that integrates with teachers' LMS, and it allows teachers to evaluate and provide feedback on writing samples, whether it be an essay
Nice.
or a small constructed response, a paragraph or so. And, we know that from studies and research that if we can provide students with timely and actionable feedback, right,
Mhm.
that this is, of great benefit to kids in their growth. And so in this case, right, in their ability to write.
Sure.
And
Get
for
some feedback quickly.
yes, for 20 some years, I've been grading stacks of essays by hand. And again, my wife could attest to, the painstaking hours it takes, right? Emotionally, physically, just it's exhausting. So a few years ago when ChatGPT launched to the general public,
Mhm.
I started more as a novelty or just a hobby. I started messing around and experimenting with ChatGPT until I had that gestalt moment and the light,
What else can I do? Mhm.
yeah, the light flashed on, and I thought, I wonder if I could leverage this technology to make my job a bit easier, and to and 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 potentially to become a more effective classroom teacher by freeing up some of my time and energy. And so, long story short, I started doing some consulting in the AI ed tech space. That didn't pan out, and so some family and friends got together, and I got a little bit of financial backing. We formed an LLC, and we started a business called SAI. And yeah, SAI, say like a student essay, and I like your eyeball looking at the essays.
Mhm.
Yes, and so, I've just been really pleased with how things have been progressing there on the
Cool.
business end. And I use the product myself, right? So it's not like I'm pitching something that I don't use or
Sure.
that I don't believe in. But I'm not here to pitch SAI either. So if anybody comes across the podcast that's looking for a Chrome extension or a
Cool.
simple tech stack to evaluate essays and provide students feedback, they're more than welcome to check it out. And I don't know, I don't know if you can provide links or
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to provide links for you because you're helping us out by getting us started on this whole journey that we've begun. And you're one of our first top 5 people. So, of our guests, and we're super thankful.
and
So, we're always trying to help give you a shout out and, give back in any way we can.
I really appreciate that. I sincerely did not come on your podcast to pitch my product. I genuinely wanted to just express my gratitude, not just, for my father, Doug, but for all the teachers that do all that hard work. I mean, I'm in that space with
You're
them.
in
I
the trenches, yeah.
know what it takes. And, it's nice to be recognized. And I just, I truly appreciate what you, Wendy, and you, Tania, I truly appreciate what you two are doing.
Thank you.
I wish you, the best of luck. I hope you're, wildly successful and, your podcast just, flourishes.
Well, thank you. We're just hoping, to do one a week because I still have to work full time and not in the summer. That's why we picked the summer to launch because we need to spend a lot of time. I had to learn the whole editing part of it and just kind of how to run this system going and making time for our guests and meet and greets. So
Yeah,
once
well,
the
and
school year starts, we're still going to record once a week, but
I picked up on something that you threw out there, and maybe this is Tania's, gift, but that rock doesn't have to be extremely heavy. You just move what you can while you can, and
Mhm.
and until you build up to something a little heavier and a little heavier, and right, everything starts with a spark, right?
Yeah.
A small flame first before it.
Don't expect the big bang overnight. It's just slow, steady progress, consistent
Never
progress
will.
is
Yeah,
really all we are asking for.
never
And
will. And
hopefully, we just affect a few people over time by bringing them a little bit of joy when they hear their name or,
And and that's all it takes to make the world a better place.
exactly.
Everybody just
Yeah.
did that. If everybody just gave a little bit, if everybody put it just a tad bit of effort into making the world a better place or
Mm.
being a bit more grateful, right?
Yeah, that's what this is about is gratitude for
Yeah,
sure.
exactly.
Mhm.
And gratitude.
Keeps you going. That's the only
Well,
thing I have that keeps me going.
I
Oh,
think there's two keys to life, right? These are my two pearls of wisdom, if you will.
You got it. Tell me. I'm gonna write
Responsibility
them down.
Responsibility and gratitude.
Mhm.
Take responsibility for that rock that you're lifting or moving. It's like the myth of
Yes.
Sisyphus, right? Learn to live within that space and do what you can, as you work to improve. And then just be grateful. Be grateful that you have that rock to work with or that,
Oh,
you don't have to be resentful that you don't have, that you're not able to move that huge rock at this moment. That's not
yeah.
the right. The point is, as Tania was saying, you know, to just live within yourself and, work on yourself. And as you become a better person, right, and you are grateful for that, I think
Mhm.
that contributes greatly to just the world being a better place. Because as I run into you on the street or Tania, in the supermarket, and you have a smile on your face because you're grateful and you're doing what you have to do, right? You're taking responsibility. I know I don't, there's two less people in the world that I need to worry about, right?
There you
And
go.
we can move on and be thankful for others and help others
Mhm.
around us that maybe that haven't quite figured out or realized all that they had to be grateful for in the moment, right?
Yeah, that's very true. Sometimes you look back and you think, "Gosh, I thought my life was hard back then," and it's you know what I mean? You grow into a different point and you're like, "Yeah, that was pretty easy. I had it easy." But that's wisdom
Yeah,
because then
exactly.
eventually that comes with time, is realizing that things aren't always gonna happen like you expect them to, but when they
Right.
do, it's a nice surprise.
It's getting to that point where you're mature enough to realize it's time for you to sort of take responsibility, take over the reins, right?
Yeah,
I mean, this happened with Pinocchio,
for
right?
sure.
Yeah. Geppetto did everything for Pinocchio, and Pinocchio still continued to lie and
He didn't learn his lesson.
but once dad was in trouble, right, Pinocchio finally realized, "Hey, I gotta do something about this," and that was the only way he was able to become fully human, right? I
Yeah,
mean,
that's true.
there
Become a
there
boy.
yeah,
Mhm.
exactly, to be transformed from just that boy into
Mhm.
yeah, exactly, into somebody who can actually make a difference in the world, so
for sure,
Yeah.
especially when, you're at the point where you like, oh, realize, okay, I like you said, Pinocchio, he realized that he made a mistake and what he was doing wasn't right. And like it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to be wrong in that time. But as long as you're knowing that what you're doing isn't right, or you know what you have to do to get over that mistake, or not even get over, to know what to do next time to not end up in that mistake. That's
Yeah.
important to realize as well. We're all not perfect and we all have mistakes. It's just about what are you going to do to better yourself from that mistake next time.
right, and I think
She's already a teacher, Scott.
right, she is, and that's the point, right? We need to be able to pass on that torch. I mean, we as teachers and parents and whatnot are the Geppettos. We're sort of protecting and girding or guarding our flock from all of the
Mm.
potential evils and disasters that, loom outside in the real world. But at some point, Pinocchio or Peter Pan, take your pick.
Mhm.
They have to at some point they have to step up
And grow up.
and they have to protect us. I'm getting old. I don't, you know, I'm not going to be able to take care of myself much longer.
I guess it's about going from a boy to a man, you know? So, it's
Yeah,
just
well,
about that inner conflict that we have as human beings too. So, but you make a lot of really good points, some of our best people in life that really kind of help us be on track are the ones who do show us what we need to learn in order to grow and to be better people, or like you mentioned earlier, gain a moral compass.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Well, awesome. Well, I think we answered all our questions, and I'm sure you are ready to enjoy your evening with your wife and maybe have a nice dinner together or something. It's
I'm getting
dinner
ready to
time
watch.
here.
Yeah, I'm getting ready to watch watch Mexico play in their final. I forget what they call. There's the World Cup, right? Mexico's
Yeah.
playing. So
I don't know what it's called. But did you ever do your around the world Major League Baseball?
yeah, we have five stadiums left that my wife and I are going to visit this summer.
That's
So
exciting.
yeah, a half summer school ends, and on the 4th of July, we'll be on a plane back to Houston, Texas,
Okay.
where we're renting a car, and then I'm driving, and we're taking a road trip, basically straight up the middle of the United States. So
Nice.
from Texas, Louisiana, up into Oklahoma, Kansas, into Nebraska, where my family was originally. My
Nice.
family originally from Nebraska, so we'll be
Okay.
visiting some relatives there, and then Mount Rushmore up through
Love Mount Rushmore.
yeah, up through South and North Dakota and over into Minnesota, and, we'll hit a couple stadiums there, and then in about a month and a half, we'll fly down to Florida and drive into Georgia, and we'll hit the last 3, the 2 in Florida and Georgia.
Where do
Eh,
you have to go in Florida?
Miami and
Okay.
Tampa Bay.
Okay. Well, I am about 2 hours from Tampa. 2 hours
Well,
from Miami also. I'm right in the middle.
when we're down there, I'll shoot you off an email if we're anywhere close. Maybe we can,
For sure.
have dinner or,
That would be awesome.
something.
Well, you're gonna be here around 4th of July?
No, in Florida, it'll be closer to, the end of July.
Okay, I'm around the end of July. I'm leaving in a few days to go to Michigan, actually, and I get to see Tania for a few days too.
Oh, great.
So awesome. Well, I really, and I know Tania does too. We appreciate you so much
Really
spending some time with us today. We have a great group of people joining us in July too. If you don't mind, I'm going to read off their names. And our first guest in July is Justin Pickens. Second is Siddharth Madhavan. And then Grace Stearns, Paula Kohler, and Jay Wamstead. So, not sure if you know any of those folks, but they are also, some are educators and some aren't. One of them is one of an ex student of mine, Siddharth, and Tania knows him as well. So, he will be a great guest to have on. We actually met with Justin Pickens on Monday, and so we already pre-recorded his because I'll be on vacation during that time, but he was very dynamic to listen to too, so that's something to look forward to on July 3rd.
Well, I've been checking in and catching your podcasts, right? I
Cool,
think
thank you.
Garrett was the comedian.
Garrett McDonald, yes. Garrett McDonald was our real first guest other than Tania and I.
So I watched that. Episode
Good.
and such, and I look forward to watching a few more. Whether or
Yeah,
not
just play them while you're cooking dinner or something, even if they're playing on the background. You don't have to see our faces. That's what I do when I'm around the house, so I'm not, completely bored. I just play different podcasts or YouTube things so that I can have
keep
some
them
volume.
gotta keep the mind going.
Yeah, yeah. Too much quiet, and I don't like too much quiet for me.
you two keep in touch, and if there's anything I can do to help out, please let me know.
For sure. Just, share away once we let you know that it's all ready to go. So we'll shoot you an email. Sound good? But
Okay.
join us each week on Spotify and YouTube, and check out our website for anybody else that's listening to be a guest, like Scott here today. And maybe we'll have Scott's wife on one day. So we are at www.thankateacherpodcast.com. And Scott, shoot your SAI. contact information out? How can people reach you?
Well, I think the easiest way to do that is just go to the website. It's
Okay.
SA, like it's spelled ESSCAY, or did I spell it?
ESS.
Thank you. ESSAYEYE, so SAI.com.
Oh, that's it. Okay.
And if they go there, my contact information is there at the bottom.
And he's also on Instagram because that's how I found you.
There is there is an Instagram, exactly, and but I don't, I hate to admit this, but I have a social media team that takes care of most
Nice.
that end of the business, so I'm not sure exactly what the handle is, but I think if you search up SAI, I think it would pop up.
I think it's just at SAI.
To
Yeah. So everybody go check out Scott Isley at SAI or at SAI.com and check out his awesome ways to help teachers save time grading their essays. Well, thank you so much, Scott. Have a wonderful week and hopefully you can stay tuned and we can keep in touch.
Yes, for sure. Thank you
And
so much.
thank you so much for all that you do for
Oh,
your students and for being a teacher.
thank you.
And enjoy your summer. Hopefully we can catch up in Florida.
That'd be great. Thank you.
All right, awesome. We'll be in touch.
All right, bye-bye.
Okay.